In this video, we're going to work on some hypothesis tests and problems associated with proportions. So let's start with this one. Number one, a tech company believes that the percentage of residents in town XYZ that own a cell phone is 70%. A marketing manager believes this value to be different. He conducts a survey of 200 individuals and found that 130 responded yes to owning a cell phone. Part A. State the null and alternative hypotheses. So let's begin with that. Let's start with the null hypothesis. So this is going to be the status quo. That is, that the percentage of residents that own a phone in town XYZ is 70%. So that is a proportion. Anytime you are dealing with percentages, you're dealing with proportions. 70% is 0.70. Now the marketing manager, he doesn't believe this value is correct. So this is going to be the alternative hypothesis, that the mean is, or rather the proportion, I should put P instead of mu. I'm so used to putting mu. So the marketing manager believes that the proportion is not 70%. So that's part A. Now let's move on to part B. At a 95% confidence level, is there enough evidence to reject the null hypothesis? Well, let's begin by writing down what we know. The sample size is 200 and 130 responded yes. So with that, we can calculate the sample proportion, which is going to be x over n. So that's 130 over 200, which reduces to 13 over 20. So the sample proportion is 0.65, which is not too far away from 0.7. Now, the proportion that is associated with the the null hypothesis. I'm thinking of trigonometry here. So the proportion that's associated with the null hypothesis is 0.70. Q naught, that's going to be 1 minus P naught. So 1 minus 0.70 is 0.30. So now we have all the information that we need. Now here's a question for you. Do we have a one-tailed test or a two-tailed test? What would you say? For the alternative hypothesis, the proportion does not equal a number. So it doesn't equal 0.70, which means it could be more than 0.70 or less than 0.70. It could be on the right side or the left side of that number. So thus we have a two-tailed test. The area shaded in blue represents the rejection region. In the middle, this is the fail to reject region. Now, what we're going to do in order to determine if we should accept or reject the null hypothesis, we have to calculate our z-values. There's two z-values that we need. We need the calculated z-value and the critical z-value, and we have to compare them. First, let's find the critical values. So we're dealing with a 95% confidence level. That means the area of the region that is not shaded is 0.95. So the area in blue, that represents alpha over 2, which is 0.025. And the same is true for the right side as well. Now, we need to determine the z-value that corresponds to these 2 points here. Now, the table that I'm going to use gives me the z-value if I know the area from the left. So I'm going to find the z-value at this point. The cumulative area from the left is the sum of these two values, which will give me an area value of 0.975. So now I'm going to use the table to get the z-value that corresponds to that area. So here is our positive z-score table. Now, we have an area value, and we want to get the corresponding z-value. Our area value is 0.975. So let's go ahead and look for that in the table. So here it is, 0.975. So we need to add 1.9 and 0.06. So that's going to give us a z-score of 1.96. So if the right side is positive 1.96, that means that the left side has to be negative 1.96. So these two z-values, they represent our critical values. Now we're going to compare our calculated z-values with these values. If our calculated z-value falls in the blue region, that means we need to reject the null hypothesis. If it falls in the middle, that means we cannot reject the null hypothesis. So we're going to use this formula. It's going to be the sample proportion minus the proportion associated with the null hypothesis over the square root of P naught times Q naught over N. So the sample proportion is 0.65, P naught is 0.70, and then this is going to be divided by the square root of 0.7 times 0.3, and the sample size is 200. Let's take this one step at a time. 0.65 minus 0.70, that's going to be negative 0.05. And then 0.7 times 0.3 divided by 200, that is 0.00105. And then if we take the square root of that result, this is going to be 0.0324. So if we divide those two numbers, our z-value is going to be negative 1.54. So now we're going to place this z-value on a graph. So if this is 0 and this is negative 1.96, negative 1.54 should be somewhere in that region. So notice that it's in the fail to reject region of this normal distribution. So that means that we cannot reject the null hypothesis, which implies we should accept it. So to answer the question in part B, we could say that at a 95% confidence level, there is not enough evidence to reject the null hypothesis. And that will be it. Now let's work on another example. Number 2, a car company believes that the percentage of residents in city ABC that own a vehicle is 60% or less. A sales manager disagrees with this. He conducts a hypothesis test surveying 250 residents and found that 170 responded yes to owning a vehicle. State the null and alternative hypotheses. So once again, we're going to start with the null hypothesis. So the company believes that the percentage of people who own a vehicle is 60% or less. So we're dealing with a proportion. Let's use P instead of mu. So this is going to be P is less than or equal to 0.60. Now for the alternative hypothesis, the sales manager, he's conducting a test. He believes the null hypothesis is not correct. So he believes that the proportion is actually greater than 60%. So that's it for part A. Now for part B, at a 10% significance level, is there enough evidence to support the idea that the vehicle ownership in city ABC is 60% or less? What would you say? Well, let's write down what we know. The sample size is 250. Out of that, there were 170 successes. Those were the individuals who responded yes to owning a vehicle. And with that, we need to calculate the sample proportion. So it's going to be x over n, which is 170 divided by 250. And so the sample proportion is 0.68. So his test might be valid because 0.68 is not very close to 0.60. But we're going to make sure by conducting a test. So now we need to write down the values of P naught, which is 0.60. It's what we see here. And Q naught, that's 1 minus 0.60, so that's going to be 0.40. Now the significance level is 10%. So that means that alpha is 10% or 0.10. The confidence level is 1 minus alpha, 1 minus 0.10, which is 0.90 or 90%. So what is our next step at this point? Our next step is to determine what type of tests we have. Is it a one-tailed test or a two-tailed test? What would you say? Now notice that the proportion for the null hypothesis, for the alternative hypothesis, it doesn't not equal a value. Rather, it represents a range of values. So this is going to be a one-tailed test as opposed to a two-tailed test. Now, would you say it's a left-tailed test or a right-tailed test? Notice that the proportion is set to be greater than 0.60, which is to the right of 0.60. So this is going to be a right-tailed test. Now, we need to determine the critical z-value that corresponds to that point. I'm going to make another graph. The confidence level is 90%. So the area of the region that is not shaded is 90%. Alpha is split into two regions here. So 5% will be on the right side, 5% will be on the left side. So to get the z-value that corresponds to that point, we need the cumulative area, which is the sum of these two values. So the cumulative area is going to be 0.95. So now let's go to the table to get the z-value that corresponds to this point. So once again, we have the area and we want to use it to get the z-value in our positive z-score table. So we said the area is 0.95. So we need to locate 0.95. 0.95 is between 0.9495 and 0.9505. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the z-values for those two numbers. For the first one, 0.9495, the z-value is 1.64. For the second one, it's 1.65. So what we're going to do is we're going to average those two numbers. We're going to add up 1.64 plus 1.65, and we're going to divide it by 2. So that's going to give us a z-value of 1.645, which corresponds to an area to the left under the curve of 0.95. So let's write our critical z-value here, 1.645. So we don't need this picture anymore. Let's get rid of that. So now let's compare our critical value with our calculated z-value. And so let's use the formula to get that. So our sample proportion is 0.68. The proportion associated with the null hypothesis is 0.60. And then P naught is 0.60, Q naught is 0.40, and the sample size is 250. So 0.68 minus 0.60, that's 0.08. 0.60 times 0.40 divided by 250, that's 9.6 times 10 to the minus 4, or 0.00096. If you take the square root of that answer, you should get 0.03094. So dividing those two numbers, our calculated z-value is approximately 2.58. So 2.58 is to the right of this number. Keep in mind this is 0 because we have the z-values on the x-axis. So 2.58 is in the rejection region. So therefore, we should reject the null hypothesis. So we could say that at a 10% significance level, there is enough evidence to reject the idea that the vehicle ownership in city ABC is 60% or less. So we have enough evidence to believe that it's more than 60%. And that will be it for this video. So now you know how to determine whether or not if you should reject or not reject the null hypothesis. So once you get your calculated z-value, you compare it to your critical value. If your calculated z-value is beyond your critical z-value in the rejection region, then you need to reject the null hypothesis. If it's within the critical value in, let's say, in this area, then you should not reject the null hypothesis. So that's it for this video. Thanks again for watching.